Hey, and good Friday morning, everybody. Meteorologist Greg Majeski back with here on the Weather Nerds YouTube channel here with the weather report here on your November the 21st, 2025. And this time I promise not to leave it streaming. OBS has been doing some funky stuff here lately with the last update where it's not shutting down the stream. And I wasn't paying attention. It just kept on going. And I ended up having to delete yesterday's weather because of it. You people were just watching me doing crazy stuff. Anyway, nothing illegal though, but put that clear. Anyway, I appreciate you guys checking out here the channel for your weekend update, getting you ready for the weekend. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about the weekend weather, obviously, get you ready for that. Let you know where the rains and some thunderstorms is going to be. We're going to talk about the pattern change that's coming. It looks like we're going to finally get in some colder weather, and as the thumbnail was showing you guys, it looks like a little more opportunity to get some decent snows across the country, especially areas like the high plains that have been kind of way above normal here for a lot of the fall, maybe getting some decent snows here across the Intermountain region. We're going to talk about snow totals and things like that. Again, nothing, not a real big storm system out there, not one that I'm really seeing right now, but we're going to break it all down for you here. Now, if you're new here to the channel, let me introduce myself. I'm meteorologist Greg Majeski. I'm your no-nonsense weather guy. There's enough of that crap out in the social media universe, and especially out on YouTube and Facebook and TikTok and all that crud. If you like a no-nonsense approach to weather, just give me the weather information, let me know what I need to know, and keep you prepared and not scared. Please consider subscribing to the channel and help us on our mission. Our mission here is to give you accurate, reliable weather and not hyped up crap. So please join us. All right, let's go ahead and get into the forecast here. To yesterday's extremes were Saranac Lake again was at 3 degrees up there in upstate New York, and 92. We had several places in Texas. We had La Pruta, Hidalgo, and Telferronera. Hope I'm saying all that right. I'm probably butchering the crud out of it. 92 for all three of those places yesterday. And we'll probably see some 90s down there in South Texas once again for today. All right, let's look at again, we're looking at the satellite picture. We got a little bit of storm activity out there. Got a little bit of thunder out there, right there across portions of Texas. Let me get on my studio mode here. There we go. And again, we got some pretty good rains here across the St. Louis area. We're going to show you there. And some good rains out here in Southern California to kind of track as we're watching this upper low kind of pulling on out. And you got this one pulling on in. So we're going to break that all down for you here. Let's look at the weather map here, kind of see what's kind of going on. Again, up here across the Northeast, a little bit of snow. Not too bad up there. Mid-Atlantic not looking bad. Going to have some rains here increasing across the south here for today. Some needed rains down here. Pretty good rain shear. Look how far back this thing goes. It's a pretty good rain shear across here in the middle of the country. And this is providing some flooding problems here. Texas got hit pretty good yesterday. I know Dallas set a record for amount of rainfall that they saw yesterday. And there was some flood emergency yesterday. We were talking about that yesterday, about the flooding concern across Texas. And they got hit pretty good. West Coast not looking too bad for the most part, except for up here into, obviously, the Northwest got another weak system up here. But Northern California not looking too bad here on your Friday morning. All right, let's look at the watches and warnings here. I got a lot of fog here in the east. Boy, look at all these fog advisories out here. Quite a bit, even here across South Dakota. Got some flash flooding problems here across southern California and parts of Arizona. A little bit of snows there across portions of California, and got some colder weather down here across portions of Arizona expected. So not really looking too bad there. All right, let's go take a look at some of this heavier rain here across portions of St. Louis this morning. Got some pretty good rains here. I gotta see it through St. Louis, made for a messy commute here, stretching back and over toward Nebraska and Kansas and Illinois, and just kind of a mess here across Missouri. Just a big of a mess here. This goes all the way back over to Kansas and Nebraska. So pretty good rain field here across the region. So just it's one of those days. If I was in Missouri, I'd be like wanting to stay inside and just kind of stay in bed, because that's what I call sleeping weather right there. All right, quickly going out to the tropics real quick. Again, we are 9 days from the end of hurricane season and still nothing out there to be seen. Looking all quiet. Still for the next 7 days, looking pretty good. No problems there. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at your severe weather event. We got a couple things we got update here for you for today. Let's go take a look at that. It's your day one outlook here. As that system that was kind of provided the active weather in Texas starts to move off toward the east. We have a marginal risk for severe weather here across portions of Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi today. So we're talking about Nashville, Huntsville, Birmingham's in this, Meridian, Mississippi, Tupelo's in this. A little bit of extreme northwest Georgia sneaking in, but again, this is going here for this afternoon. Temperatures are running pretty warm, above normal, obviously. So with those above normal temperatures continuing, that's enough instability to kind of help feed some thunderstorms potentially. Nothing too widespread here. We'll go and break it down by the categories. We'll take a look at these together here as the tornado risk is running pretty low, less than 2% in the same zone. Wind threat running about 5%, obviously, in that same area. and the hail threat, not really there. So it's just basically a wind and hail threat here for today. Also got to deal with some thunderstorms out here in Southern California as well. Not severe, but some pretty good rains here in Los Angeles down towards San Diego. Watch out for that area as well. Let's look at your day 2. Just the general thunderstorm threat here from the Carolinas down along the Gulf Coast, stretching back over toward Texas and into areas of Arizona and New Mexico. And then day 3, we kind of focus in back here on Texas once again, Abilene, San Angelo, and just to the west there of Killeen and San Antonio. So just there across central Texas there, going in toward your Sunday. That'll be for Sunday. Looking at that right there. Let's talk about the heavy rain threat. That has been a problem as we saw yesterday. So let's go ahead and look at that here. The excessive rainfall amounts here. Looks like parts of the Ohio River Valley, not too bad here, but Southern California, obviously down here with the heavier rain threat, that's where the flash flood watch obviously is in place right there for your day 1. Day 2, not looking bad here on day 2. However, day 3, we light up this area back here toward Texas once again, Dallas. Areas that got hit yesterday, they're looking at some more heavy rains potentially going into Sunday this weekend across the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So my buddy Dan out there, I'm sure he's going to be busy tracking that. He does radio out there in the Dallas area. All right, let's get into the model data here. Let's go ahead and talk about this as we'll get this up for you real quick, although I was kind of half-cocked here getting this ready. So let's get this up and ready as we're going to be doing this. For some reason, I'm not sure why. I haven't figured this out, but it resets my clock every time I pull this thing up. It drives me crazy, but we'll get on through here. All right, so here we go. Let's look at your NAM here, taking you here for the next 60 hours. Again, we're watching one system kind of leave the East Coast area, waiting for this next one to kind of pull out here out of the Southwest, a new one coming into the Northeast. Watch that little timestamp there in the upper right-hand corner there. So again, we're kind of watching what happens here with this system kind of pulling on out of here. We're waiting for this one to kind of kick in here. This is one that will come into Texas here going into Sunday. And then, of course, we got this next system coming here Sunday as well here on the West Coast. So we got a couple of systems, 3 systems we're tracking. One that's kind of exiting the east, one that's coming out of the Southern California into the Southwest, and then we got another one coming into the Northeast. So kind of around the periphery. So a lot of the country really not looking too bad weather-wise here for the weekend. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about your rainfall totals here. Not as bad as yesterday. That's the good news there. The only areas that are concerned, obviously, is Southern California. Some decent rains here this morning coming across portions of Kansas and into Missouri. About an inch and a half, not looking bad there. A little rain across the southeast. And I am fighting a sore throat, by the way, guys. I woke up with it, so pardon me with that if I sound a little off today. All right, and we've got some decent rains up there across the northwest as well. All right, temperature-wise, again, this weekend, not looking bad. We got some colder temperatures, seen a little more blue, obviously, on the map, but nothing over the top. In fact, the European model for the cold shot coming down next week kind of backed off a little bit on there. It's a little more seasonable cold. It's not really a true Arctic air mass. I call it more of a polar one. There's different levels. You got westerlies, which kind of bring you kind of a specific air mass. Then you got a polar, and then you get Arctic, which is really, really cold. And I'm not really seeing that here in the offing right now. So as we look at the big weather pattern here, one thing I've noticed that changed here for next week, I got that energy coming out of the southwest. Again, we've been tracking these 2 pieces of energy that are kind of hook up and bring in the cold air across the east. What the European did overnight was that it's not quite as pronounced. It's moving more west, so it's a little flatter. So the trough here is not nearly as pronounced like this. So it's a little flatter. So that means the cold air is not going to intrude as far south. It's going to chill, but not as cold, okay, for you folks across the southeast. We'll see if that's a trend. We'll watch this afternoon to see if that model verifies. It's still insisting on this. You see this pattern. We were talking about this yesterday, about this constant ridging across the southeast. That is a very typical La Nina pattern when you got the cooler waters off the Pacific. You get a high pressure kind of builds out the Atlantic. This is very typical. Now, when La Nina starts to die out, as it's expected in December, that'll become less persistent. We're seeing this trough out in the west. And then here's the thing. We're talking about the snow pattern. This is getting very pronounced. This has been steady the last few model runs about building this big high out here out in the Pacific. If we start getting ones out of the Atlantic too, that really opens up the gates for some cold air coming here across the United States here, and definitely going to make it much more conducive for areas like that are supposed to be seeing snow, getting snow up across the higher areas. And I think when I show you the snow totals here, at least the 10-day, I'm going to go out 10 days, you'll see what I'm talking about. More pronounced snow, more real snow, I would say. What we've had so far up to now, we've had some teasers, higher mountain stuff, some teaser events, but I really think we're making that transition. Meteorological winter begins December 1st anyway. We're officially 1 month from the start of winter, and I think that's what we're going to start to see. All right, so let's look at your pattern here for the next 10 days. We got a couple of snow events to kind of watch here for the next 10 days. We'll slow this down a little bit here. Again, we're watching that one system pull out of the mid-Atlantic. That's pulling on out. So this system's going bye-bye. So think about this one. And then we're watching this one here kind of tracking up in here to Texas. And, of course, we got one out there on the West Coast to watch. All right. So as we go on to this weekend, this pulls on out. We get some snows there across portions of Colorado. Whether Denver sees snow or not on the 24th, we'll see. Denver keeps adding to that record every day they go by without any snow there. Got some showers and storms to watch here across the southeast going into Monday and Tuesday. Some of that might be marginal, severe. We'll watch it closely. This pushes on off. Then we get another system out here in the west, seeing a little more snows there across the mountain. See that right there? Yeah, this is going to be a decent snow event, I think, up in here to watch going in toward the end of next week. So that's what's showing in there. That pulls on out, and then that pulls across Great. And you'll get some more snows out there in the west because it's turning colder out in the west. So anything that comes out in the west is going to get some more snows out in the Intermountain region. So I think we're going to finally see a little more snowier pattern starting to develop here as we go into the month of December. So the end of January, we're starting to see it. It's definitely going to be turning colder out in the west. All right, so here's your rainfall totals. Again, we got a couple of rain events here across the south. This is needed here. Obviously, we get some more rain out here, Southern California. Northeast not looking too bad. We're seeing, it's pretty dry across the high plains there up toward Minnesota. But we're going to start seeing, it's a progressive pattern. We're starting to see better rain chances across the country that we're going to see over the next 10 days. Here's the snow. Here's the one, as promised. Again, this is much, much better. If you've been watching the last few days, we really haven't been seeing a whole lot of snow here, but we're seeing better snow coverage here across the west Intermountain region. This area is starting to see a little more snow lighting up in here and across the Great Lakes. So the areas that are supposed to see it starting to show some indications that this is going to pick up a little bit here. Again, this kind of takes us out here from, turn my clock back on here for you, going out to the end of the month. This goes out to November the 30th. And I think that pattern will continue into December. So areas that have been kind of snow-starved, like Denver and some other places, will get better opportunities for snow as we go into the month of December. It's supposed to be, right? We're getting ready to go into winter. All right, let's go and talk about this cold temperatures. Again, it backed off a little bit as far as the intensity. It's still going to chill down in the east, but it's just not going to be as bad if the model trend holds where that trough is just not as deep, where we're not really tapping as much cold air coming down. So as we go through the Sunday here, going into next week. So Monday, again, still staying fairly mild here across the southeast and south central. Here's some cold air up here in the northeast, but again, not over the top bad here. Let's go through the week. We're going to track that cold air coming down here. So here goes your Tuesday afternoon, still looking pretty good there across the eastern third of the United States here. That's going to Wednesday, starting to cool things off just a little bit here. As you can see, that cold air is starting to increase. We're seeing more of the blue. That's sub 32 degree temperature starting to show up in there. So we're getting much colder air coming on down. All right, but again, these temperatures in the 20s. These aren't that bad. We're not talking about below zero type thing or anything like that. So this is coming on down. And then as we go into your Thanksgiving morning, it's much cooler across a big part of the country. We're saying goodbye to this warm weather down here, but again, seasonably cool. I mean, really not that bad. I've seen a few teens up here across the Dakotas, but really not bad going into Thanksgiving Day. And then Thanksgiving Day afternoon highs are close to it, going up to 1 o'clock. They're, not bad. I mean, these look fairly seasonal across the south, low to mid 60s for the most part. You got 40s and 50s in here. You got some below freezing up in here. So that looks fairly typical. Really not that bad. And then we'll see what happens as we go into next week. Because what happens here is as you go forward here, going into that, we get a little colder out in the west. And see that cold air up there? That's what I'll be watching here. Now, this is the real cold stuff up here. Finally seeing this toward the end. If we start getting that out to the west, again, that's why I'm thinking we're going to be heading toward a snowier pattern. We're going to see colder weather coming in, and this is the end of my 10-day. I don't usually go out beyond 10 days for obvious reasons. The models just get a little bit crazy. Even 10 days is a little bit on the edge, but we're definitely seeing colder temperatures out in the west. That's going to open up the door for much more snow opportunities and chances in the west. The high plains are definitely looking colder. And that's why I think we're going to finish out the month with a colder weather pattern, more snow's coming, and areas that are saying, hey, we're ready for some snow, you're finally going to get it. I think that's definitely coming. All right, so that's what we're looking at. Let's look at your climate outlook here as we kind of look at this. Again, I forget to back this up again. My apologies. One of these days I'm going to remember to do that, but I'm getting a little old. So anyway, so this is not looking too bad. You got the colder temperatures here, warmer out in the west finally here briefly. And then the 8 to 14 day, looks like a lot of the country definitely turning colder. Again, remember what I was showing you. You had those two high pressures kind of setting up there where a lot of the country is going to be seeing opportunities for cold air to come on down, except for areas maybe across the deep, deep south there and maybe parts of Southern California there. Precipitation-wise, looks very progressive, very opportunities here for rain. Not really seeing any little dry spots there. Maybe the West Coast dries out a little bit here going out from the 28th through the 4th. So not looking bad there overall. So right now, the good news is for next week is that I'm not looking at any big major storm systems right now that should cause significant travel delays for anybody going there. There's going to be some weather around. I'm not saying that, but not seeing anything like a big major snowstorm or a big event that's going to cause travel headaches, especially going into Tuesday and Wednesday as folks make their travel on Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is really not looking too bad here across a lot of the country. We're going to watch it closely, though. We'll be paying close attention. And then next week, what I'm planning on doing is we'll be looking at some live cameras from some airports and stuff around the country, and kind of watching what's going on at those locations and seeing how the travel is progressing here and looking at the air traffic delays and stuff like that. All right. Who we got out there this morning? We got Mick out there this morning. Good to see G, bro. You're out there as well. Ethel, good to see you as well. Edith, good to see you. My normal folks, my normal crew out there this morning. Appreciate you guys checking us out. And I promise to double check and make sure it stops streaming this time. I hated having to delete my thing yesterday because that was a good report yesterday, but I had to take it down because it was just streaming out laying and I don't know what was being seen and stuff like that. It's like, nah, we better take that down. So anyway, hope you guys take it easy again. I'm a little hoarse today. Hopefully by Monday we'll be back. Plan for next week right now is normal weather week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't think I'll do anything on Thanksgiving Day. I'll kind of depend on what's going on. I might do it just for the heck of it because I may not, but I'll probably take Thanksgiving off and then I'll do a normal Friday for you next week. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday most likely. Take Thursday off and spend time with the family. I'll be probably getting busy cooking and stuff in here and stuff like that. So my daughter will be coming home from the hospital hopefully today. She was dealing with some stuff. Hopefully she's doing better now. And my other daughter getting ready to fly back home here soon. She's been back with us for about a month and she's doing really great now. And she's going to be heading on back. She's getting ready to move into a new place, so she's got to get back to California. So I've been glad to have her around. All right, that's y'all's update for today. Appreciate it. You guys take it easy. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great and safe weekend. And again, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Love to have you on board. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.